So I was a fan of the Joe Rogan Experience for about 2 years. I started watching him in about 2020, and I stopped watching him in about 2022. Reason being, he moved to Austin, Texas. When Joe Rogan lived in Cali, it was very interesting to see the guests that he brought on every single day. He was very unique, and he deserved what he had, at least in my opinion. But as time went on, I've realized that Joe Rogan is not the person he claims to be. He is just a shill for the Republican politics side, and he's a shill for Trump in particular. He claims he's not on either sides, and he's just in the middle. He likes something that the liberals do and some things that the Republicans do. However, for the last 2 years, all I've noticed is he just talks shit about liberals the whole time. He has nothing bad to say about Trump. Everything that Trump and Elon Musk have done, he just looks at as an epiphany. He looks at as it's insanely smart to do, and he acts like he's not a, podcaster. And evidently, I'm not the only one. His videos on YouTube in particular, where I used to watch him, are struggling to hit 1 million views. We also can't forget about the time Joe Rogan talked shit to a researcher's face, calling her stupid, calling her a dumb bitch, just because she had more expertise in the topic than he did.
Yeah, I'm a primatologist. There's no such thing as a Bondo ape.
You're a fucking idiot. Go online and look it up.
You're a what? What do you do?
It's a new discovery. You're a primatologist? Well, look it up. You're not current. Pay attention. Go online and look it up.
Yeah, this is student.
Yeah, you've learned some shit from college. When did you graduate?
I have a PhD from
When
2000.
did you graduate? When?
From 2000.
Yeah, when was the last time you got online and researched primates? Have you ever looked at any of the new discoveries? Have you looked at any of Carl Amon's work?
Yeah, I've been to Africa.
What are you laughing at? Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? I'll tell you why you're laughing, because you don't have a point. So you're trying to, oh, you're ridiculous. I have a PhD. Meanwhile, there's all sorts of photographs of this primate, this gigantic chimpanzee. Not only that, it's on National Geographic, stupid. NationalGeographic.com. CNN.com, stupid. No. There's bones. There's tissue samples. There's hair. There's fecal matter. There's all sorts of different things. Now, they've mapped the DNA of this animal already.
Oh, please.
What do you mean, oh, please, stupid? You haven't paid attention to it at all. These are legitimate scientists and primatologists that are in the Congo studying this thing. And you don't know. Yet you're calling up. You've done zero research on this. You haven't looked into it at all. You're telling me we know all the animals that are in the world? Are you telling me we know all the animals in this gigantic, several thousand-mile-long, intense rainforest? We've mapped that out.
There's another fake chimpanzee out
No,
there.
it's not a fake, stupid. It's not a fake. Listen, they have skulls. Listen to me. They have skulls.
And this is not the only reason I hate Joe Rogan, even though I think he is extremely stupid as well, which is why I stopped watching him. After a while, I realized that, hey, you're not very smart, and his podcast where he brought on guests, interesting guests, and had a lot to talk about or a lot to listen, was turned into more of a therapy session for him. Every single time someone comes on, he just talks about himself the whole time. He interrupts the guests, and most importantly, the guests are extremely boring, and to be honest, they're nobodies. Nobody fucking knows him. At least I don't, and the people that I talk to also don't know who they are. So it's just like, bring on someone more interesting. Stop bringing on, librarians that work in Phoenix or something. LA has a very vast variety of celebrities, has a lot of famous people that are famous for different things they do, whereas Austin just has no one. I think Austin has some comedians. Actually, let me correct myself. Comedians, because none of them are funny, except for Shane Gillis. I love Shane Gillis, but if you know anything about Shane, you know that he will never say that he's from Austin. He doesn't consider himself an Austin comedian per se. He says where he was born. I don't remember where in particular he was born. I'll put it on the screen. But he doesn't say he's from Austin for the particular reason of Austin comedians are not funny, and no one wants to identify as an Austin comedian for that reason. Aside from the ones that do identify as one, and those people in particular are just coping. For example, Brendan Schaub, who moved there recently, or Tony Hinchcliffe, if I'm not wrong. Very unfunny people. No one really likes them. I'm actually going to release a video pretty soon of me having a roast of Tony Hinchcliffe because I really fucking hate him. Tony, you're gay. Let's keep rolling. Another thing I've noticed about Joe Rogan is his ego has skyrocketed through the roof. I don't know if you guys have seen the famous clip, but I'll play it right now.
First of all, I have what you call fuck you money. And if you have fuck you money, you don't say fuck you. What's the point of having the fuck you money? You're wasting it. If I was a kid and I said, hey, if I was that crazy rich famous guy, like, I would want to have a bunch of cool fucking cars. So I would do that. Like, if you're the person that gets to do that, You're kind of supposed to do it.
He has what he likes to call fuck you money, which, don't get me wrong, he does have fuck you money. $100 million from Spotify is a lot of money. More than the average human being needs by any means. Not even the average, more than any human being needs. And this isn't to take inches off his dick. I think it's absolutely impressive that he was the first podcaster who really did it. You know, he has, 20 million subscribers on YouTube. I don't know his other platforms because I don't watch him on them. But it is insane what he's achieved. No one else has ever been able to achieve that, so I think he deserves the money. I'm not sitting here saying he doesn't deserve it. However, he doesn't deserve to have the inflamed ego that he does. And his inflamed ego comes from a few things. First and foremost, he thinks there's only 250 killer assassin comedians, and he's one of them. When I say he thinks there's only 250, I'm saying in the entire world. He thinks he is in the top 50 of the funniest men to ever walk this planet, or at least at the moment, which is absolutely insane to say. I watched a few of the Joe Rogan specials, and none of them are funny. Like, genuinely, he is not a funny person. Soda break? Not sponsored, but delicious. Pepsi, please sponsor me. I'll promote you guys for the rest of my life. I love Pepsi. Joe Rogan is so unfunny that he has to go down to the level of stew fucking. If you don't know what stew fucking is, it essentially means that you are very chaotic. You have to do a lot of physical things during a stand-up comedy routine just to get the crowd to laugh. For example, if you say a funny joke that has sex in it, instead of just saying the joke, he will start humping the air while talking about it or something along the nature of that, just to distract the crowd from the fact that the joke itself is not funny, so I'm gonna do something funny, physically. I think that's extremely talentless. I think if you do that, you are not a good comedian, and every single comedian that has done that in the past just proves my point. I'm not necessarily here to break down the fact of him being a good comedian or not. I recommend going on the channel called Podcast Cringe. That channel can explain it way better than I can. By the way, huge fan. Podcast Cringe, if you're watching this, please comment hi or something. I will literally jizz in my pants. But going back to one of my original points with him having going back into my original point of him having an absolute skyrocket of an ego, he thinks so much of himself. He thinks that he is top 1% of men. He also claims he's taller than he is. We know you're 5'4", man. Which is just insane. He lies all the time. He has Jamie fact-checking. However, I don't think Jamie's fact-checks are extremely well done for one specific reason. Jamie doesn't go into a deep dive. He literally Googles it. The first article that he sees that seems credible, he clicks on, and a lot of information that Joe Rogan gets out of this is incorrect. As an ex-Joe Rogan fan, there's also hundreds of clips of him saying that he saw a video on Twitter, he saw a video on Instagram, with something happening, and it was AI generated, and Jamie proves this wrong almost every single time. Thank you, Jamie. You are the Lord and Savior sometimes. I really appreciate it. Another thing that pisses me off about Joe Rogan, and I think what made him lose at least 100,000 viewers a stream for sure, is the fact that he defends what happened with the entire Saudi Arabia government thing. If you're not aware of it, a few months ago, there was a huge festival in Saudi Arabia where a ton of comedians got offered a huge bag to go. Keep in mind, Joe Rogan was not one of them, so I don't know why he stands and defends it so much. It's not excusable. He's extremely materialistically driven. Also, his videos used to be just, him and the bros talking, getting high, having fun, taking mushrooms, talking about, the effects of psilocybin, evolution, theories, and now it's just him talking about fame, him talking about how famous he is, how he doesn't go into comment sections. Like, I know Joe Rogan will never see this video because he does not look at videos about himself in any way, shape, or form. He ignores any criticism and takes it as pure hate. And he also calls people like me and people like you who are watching this video who don't like him, he calls us haters, even though we have evidence. It's not to say we're haters. I don't hate Joe Rogan. Kinda, but he just thinks we're low IQ. He thinks that any of our criticism is also hate, and if we have anything actually, critical to say of him, not in a rude way, not in a way of like, hey, I hate Joe Rogan, so I'm just gonna make shit up about him. No, this is actual issues that you have as a human being. He also just takes that as hate, not as constructive criticism, and this is not just from me, this is not just from you, this is also from fellow comedians. Now, another thing that's absolutely insane about Joe Rogan is his comedy club. It's called The Mothership. I know most of you guys have heard about this situation, but if you haven't, essentially when you go into the green room in the Mothership, which is a room where they take your phone so you can't record them and you can't, essentially they can't get canceled because there's no actual proof of what they said. And one of the biggest reasons as to why they do it is because they would be canceled instantly. They use the R word, they use the F slur, and I'm pretty sure it keeps going. I know they don't use the N word because if they did, that would be an absolute, that would be insane. He would instantly have all of his platforms shut down, even if there isn't necessarily evidence. People don't play with derogatory terms anymore. This isn't 2005, this isn't 2010. And a lot of people say it's because we all got soft, you know, we became snowflakes, when in reality, we just respect everyone, even people that are different from us. And we don't want to use derogatory terms, just like we wouldn't want derogatory terms used against us. A lot of people call me cracker. It doesn't ever hurt my feelings, but it's a different story. A lot of people get called the N-word in a terrible derogatory term way. And for those people, it's not okay, you know? Or same with people that have Down syndrome or some kind of mental disability. They also get called the R word. It's not funny. It was funny in 2005 because people were just shittier people. It's that simple. If I got $1 for every single time Joe Rogan talked about his cold plunges or his sauna trips, I would have as much money as him. That's one of the most annoying things, is all of his new podcasts circulate around the 4 same topics: fitness, and it's not to say like all the realms of fitness. No, cold plunges and saunas and other things of that nature. He doesn't talk about anything new, and he talks more than the guest, which I absolutely hate. I think if you're bringing on someone to your podcast, you want to hear their opinion and what they have to say, and you could disagree with it. I disagree with the whole entire agenda of, like, if you're a podcaster who brings on new guests, you just have to let them say everything they think without any pushback. No, but Joe Rogan doesn't have pushback. He just yaps. He just talks the whole time about other things. And if he does have pushback, it's not the same way that you should have pushback. It's more of like, you're an idiot, you're the R word. It's just stuff like that. Now, as an ex-Joe Rogan fan, do I think he is the worst person ever and I absolutely hate him? Kinda, but no. I think some of the things he does are unexcusable. I think how he defends people, but only certain people, and when other people do the same thing, he calls them idiots, lobotomites, and that they should be essentially put into a laboratory and experimented on. I find that pretty gross. I think there's a lot of things wrong with what he does. However, I do think that he could still come out of this hole that he's in. I do really want to sit down and enjoy another JRE episode. I think one of the bigger problems we've had is he had Trump on his podcast. I don't remember when exactly this was, but I think it was in 2023, and it was a very annoying thing to have for the simple reason of it gave him a lot of ego, and as the biggest podcaster in the world, I think he already deserves to have an ego, and he deserves to have like a voice, you know? He deserves to have opinions that people disagree with. However, I don't think he deserves to call every other opinion a dumbass opinion. Joe Rogan's ego is through the roof. He is an extremely messed up person for what he does at the mothership. And it is called the comedy mothership. Don't think I'm an idiot. Don't think I'm, I don't know what I'm talking about. I just refer to it as the mothership because it is a quicker way to put it. But I really want to sit down and enjoy Joe Rogan more. But after Joe Rogan turned on Bobby Lee, after he turned on Santino, which don't get me wrong, Santino and Bobby Lee are not the best people either. However, I like them a lot more than Joe Rogan. I really like how Joe Rogan talks to Bert Kreischer. I feel like Bert Kreischer is a person who has also an inflamed ego and only talks about himself. So him being put in the right place by Joe Rogan is always a good thing. But Joe Rogan needs that Joe Rogan for himself, if that makes sense. He needs someone to put him in his place, because even when fellow comics talk about it with him, he brushes them off as just, you don't know it as well as I do. I'm clearly more knowledgeable than you. When in reality, you're not a comedian. So every time you argue about comedy with an actual comedian, you look like an idiot. We need a 20-minute roast session between Shane Gillis and Joe Rogan. I want to see how that will go. That would be amazing. But this was an extremely short video, so please let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Leave a like, subscribe, share this video with friends and family, because we're trying to grow this channel. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Peace.